6 million minutes. Could you imagine 6 million minutes? Here, Ensemble DITTO, and we spent over 6 million minutes together. Hi guys, I am a host Qpidia of this special interview show, Timeless Ditto, for the Last of Ditto Festival. In the Timeless Ditto, we talk about the last 12 years with Ditto, and also memorize the story from the people who were in the important position for making Ditto. Today will be the final of Timeless Ditto, and we invite our special guest, music director of Ensemble DITTO and the international violist, Licherd용재오닐. Hi Yongjae, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming today. I personally interviewed you, and this is not the first time, but I'm so excited because we didn't have any intensive time for talking about only Ditto. Truly, Ditto was really rare and hard project. How do you think about that?
Well, I think like a lot of things in life, the most meaningful things are also sometimes the most labor intensive. Yes.
Yes, of course. So, are you happy or are you glad that Ensemble DITTO is closing now then?
It's like anything. I think it's a mixed feeling of happiness that we achieved a very special movement towards bringing arts to more people, and sad in the sense that there will be no more concerts, and we won't be able to meet on a regular basis, at least, our devoted audience, who has been really the magic component of this whole project.
Right. So the project was more than 10 years project, and I think it was not an easy conclusion at all. How did you make this decision?
I was falling asleep last night, and I counted on my fingers. I was like, if it started in 2007 and this is 2019, that would make it 13 concerts. So technically 13 years of music making. That's very hard to close. It's been a really long project, almost like a generation. I think of it almost like a child. It's like the child's almost reaching, time to go to high school.
Right. So when people start to think about Ditto, firstly there's you, and when we think about you, there's Ditto too. Could you measure Ditto as only one word?
English is a hard language for me to use just one word because I use so many words, too many words. But I think if I were to use a Korean word, I would say 공감.
공감.
It was sort of the before Ditto, I wrote this book about music and my life, and it was the title was 공감.
How would you say that in English then?
It's one of those things that doesn't necessarily translate well.
So could you explain the reason that why you think 공감 is the best word to describe the project Ditto, Ensemble Ditto?
A musician's job is to bring music to their audience, and back to basics always. And it's very important that the musician does not forget that basic tenet of it's the deal, right? We don't spend the talking about millions of minutes. I mean, maybe the hundreds of thousands of hours preparing and practicing since we're very, very little children to enter the concert stage to play for ourselves or for any other reason except to bring music to people. And Ditto really, I really wanted to share the most meaningful thing in my life, which is chamber music. As a violist, chamber music is where all of the best repertoire, I believe, is written for viola. And I was so finding the right word for Ditto, even to name it, was difficult. And But 공감, I think, really encapsulates what the essence of Ditto's about. Is it's the relationship between, it's a three-part relationship. It's the music, and the medium of the music, which is the performer, and the receiver of the music, which is both the performer and the audience.
So you see receiver of the music as receiver of music, you see the performer and then the audience together.
Well, I think we receive the music first because we spend our life in learning how to decipher it. We look at this two-dimensional notation, which is incredibly informative but incredibly ambiguous. And from that, we have to figure out what is the deeper meaning. Just like reading any great literature, you can read words, but words alone often are just the surface of meaning. Often there's many, many layers underneath words. And you can imagine with music, when it's an absolute form like that, what does that mean? When you eliminate any sort of intellectualism and you just are dealing with pure expression, communication, abstraction, the performer intimately knows and interprets the music, and they're a necessary component for a composer. You know, these composers are often, they've been in the ground, their physical body's dead for hundreds of years sometimes, but their music is still very, very much alive, their creation. And the audience is very much alive too. And you want to bring back, as a performer, you want to bring back that music for the people so they can enjoy the composer's work just like it was written today, like Beethoven or Mozart, Schubert. It should feel like as fresh as they were alive yesterday and they handed you this score and you studied it. Of course, that's not, it's impossible. We don't have time travel, but I do think in some strange, actually not even that strange way, there's a timeless quality about the great music that has survived. It was once said that great art is object, because once it's eternal, it's for everyone and devoid of time. It exits the continuum where things expire and things are born and they expire. It just exists.
You talk like a philosopher here.
Well, I think there's a lot of especially with what you've seen in your profession in the world of current affairs, where in a second the world can change. It's amazing to think of in the trillions of seconds that these pieces were written. So many things have happened, yet we still keep on going back to this music. There's something very, very powerful and incredibly universal for something to survive that long. I mean, we look at current events, it's disposable. We look at trends, disposable. We look at even our own lives, we expire. But for some reason, this music doesn't expire. And I think that's part of the reason why I've really poured so much into the project, because I really believe that there's incredible value in what this music says.
I realize here once again that you're not only an international violist, but also a music director of Ensemble DITTO. And it was a very good opportunity to know about why Ensemble DITTO exists for a specific reasons and specific value sets. When I was first thinking of this question, I just asked for you, could you measure Ditto as only one word? I assume that this must be a very, very difficult question, because to describe one thing as only one word must not be an easy process, but you did a great job. 공감 or whatever in English. But we have to keep on asking you some more difficult question. So I guess there were complex emotions and thoughts, of course. But can you tell us about 3 moments in your 12 years with Ditto? Firstly, when is the happiest moments in 12 years?
One of the most meaningful moments in all of the project was when the extraordinary force of nature violinist Kyunghwa Chung came back. And Kyunghwa Chung is part of the reason I'm actually sitting here today. I came back to Korea for the first time to tour with her in December of 2001 as a member of the Sejong Soloists. And I was forever indebted to Kyunghwa because I think she was one of the first artists I worked with that really she practices what she preaches. She is an incredible, charismatic, passionate performer who exacts the highest standard from herself. She's incredibly brutal with herself, and it shows when she gets on stage because everything she plays is of such meaning. And I had heard a lot of wonderful musicians in my time before working with her. I was living out in Los Angeles and meeting a lot of wonderful people. But when I moved to New York, that was some of the first experiences live, making music with somebody of that level, you know. And to bring her back into the project, something that, you know, she gave me the gift of bringing me here, and then I was able to reunite with her and bring her into the ensemble was so meaningful. And I think a lot of the younger generation, you know, I wasn't the youngest member of Ditto by any means, and for some of the younger members to be able to meet her and work with her was so great.
When is the saddest moment in whole years?
Well, I would have to project and say it's going to be in 2 months from now when the lights go down and the people leave. And I truly feel I feel sadness on the part for people that will miss having the concerts because that's been the truly the best gift of all has been the people that have come and supported this project. A lot of these people have been there since the beginning or very close to the beginning, which is they've grown with us. It's basically if Ditto was a child, we've gone almost a generation, and a lot of our audience has grown with us, and it's been really meaningful to see people year in and year out just passionately and sort of selflessly commit to coming to the concerts. Many people come to all the concerts, and as an artistic director, that trust is the greatest feeling, because you feel like you want to grow, you want to evolve as an artist. You don't want to stay in the same place, and you also want your audience to grow. And I've really thrown out a lot of challenges to the audiences over the last 12 years. And I am so pleased because I think a lot of the people that first came to Ditto were not classical music listeners. And now it's a big part of their life. And perhaps that's the greatest gift of all, is that.
Have you ever thought of why they decided to come at the very first moment, even when they didn't have any knowledge on classical music?
I would be a very bad artistic director if I didn't think about why. But perhaps the more important question to me is what kept them coming? You know, why? Many times people's motivations are a mystery. Even my own motivations are a mystery to myself. But the gift of people sitting down, paying attention to you, is also the responsibility. And the responsibility for me was, what are they getting? You know, there are plenty of things in life that are entertainment-based, and I love entertainment. You know, we all do. But I truly believe I am not an entertainer. I want to share something that truly is of incredible, perhaps the most important thing in my life with other people. And I think that what they are getting is something of great value and something that I think needs to be shared.
Okay, so the last question for this part is, could you pick one memorable time? Well, this also be fair. This must be also very difficult. Pick one memorable time?
You know, there are so many moments of humor, you know, in all of this sort of serious nature of arts and the meaning of everything. But, you know, the camaraderie of being around your brothers in music has been one of the funnier and sort of lighthearted parts of my life. Mm-hmm. So once in 2007, perhaps is when we started, but in 2008 we had the great pianist Im Dong-hyuk join us, and it really was sort of the big boost to our project because it was a huge issue that a solo pianist of his stature would join an ensemble. And so we played, I think, 13 concerts all over the country, and they were all completely sold out. We played 2 concerts in Seoul Arts Center in one day, and both were equally packed. But I'm not telling you that to brag, but it was just a huge, arduous tour. It was a lot of work. It was like 3 days of work and then maybe 1 day of rest and then 3 days. It was really, really intense. So we got to Busan, Dong-hyuk and me, and the dressing rooms of the hall were terrible, and there were mosquitoes, and I get bitten up terribly. So Dong-hyuk, you know, he practices a lot. He's a maniacal practicer, like a lot of my friends, so I went out, and the only place I really could think of taking a nap was under the piano, and he was banging away. You know, like he works so hard. I shouldn't say banging. He was playing beautifully. And I just took a nap under the piano. And I just remember it sounds a lot different when you're laying under the piano than it does in the concert hall. But, you know, it was a very fond memory.
I think to pick one memorable time, I think I really have to ask you this question. So DITTO always talks about the sympathetic classical music from the start to the end. This sympathy exists between artists and audiences, of course. So I have a question about that. You met a lot of audiences during the past 12 years. Do you have any impressive audience?
Oh, well, there's so many. To pick out one person from an audience would be not an audience, because an audience is a group of people. Yeah. So, oh gosh, there's so many people that, yeah, it's really hard to choose one episode. There was one concert we did a few years ago, and a lady brought her two paraplegic kids to the hall, and it was so difficult for her to get there, and I just remember thinking, wow, it's really an honor that somebody would take that much time and that much effort to come to my concert and DITTO's concert, and it was really very meaningful. We have a couple of supporters that come to every performance, and that bring delicious pastries and delicious teas, everything. So before I walk out, I have this hot omijacha or something very fruity, something delicious tea to help get ready, and that's very, very meaningful. And the amount of letters that I've received, and the stories people shared, they're treasures. It's really, a lot of people have been so the art has, I guess, given them a platform to reflect on their own lives and to share, and I've appreciated their honesty and how candid they have been.
Do you think you enjoy plenty of time to interact with audiences?
No, in a sense, it's a strange proposition, the performing arts life, because by its very nature, you're giving of yourself wholesale. It's to strangers, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of strangers every other night or something, or sometimes every night, which is a very exposing and strange thing, because if you're being sincere and you're sharing something incredibly personal, on demand, often when you're not necessarily even feeling like sharing, to strangers. But in some ways, it's sort of like my philosophy with life. I think if you sit down with any person on the planet, and you're a good listener, you'll probably be able to learn something and learn something about that other person. And I wish in some ways that you could, have this ability, like this, I wouldn't say godlike ability, but this superhuman ability to talk to people and see if they like what you do. Not necessarily for validation, but to see if it did something with them. But that's just not possible. It would be impossible to sit down and talk with everybody. So you just have to do your best to prepare and to give the people in the audience something special every time you perform.
What would be the best way for you to get, not really for you, but for you to get feedbacks from the audiences, and for the audiences to give the performer how they feel or what they feel?
Well, the one time that people have their way of showing their appreciation is they can clap or they can shout. Or if they hate it, they can leave, So hopefully they don't leave. That's a good thing. If they clap, that's good. And if they really clap loud and they stand up, then that's great. But it's very strange sometimes. It's a success of a concert is not the volume of the applause at the end. Because oftentimes music can be very, it can bring you inwards, and it can take you to a very emotional place. And I think a lot of times people remember more than the yelling and the screaming, are the moments that make them cry, or the moments that make them remember something, or take them out of their body. And that often is not an experience you have, and then you start yelling, or screaming. You take that with you, and that's what you hope for. And that's sort of maybe where I guess it is good that you don't have to talk to people, or they don't have to talk to you, because they can keep it completely personal, and they can private, and I think sometimes we don't even understand what we feel. We need time to understand, and music is magical because it doesn't need words.
I will tell you about a fan story. Nickname 진달래 sent this story to us. In my life, I have few moments where I feel that my life has just finished. When H.O.T. had to disband, when the last book of series Harry Potter came out, and now. This year is the season 12 of DITTO, and also the last of them both. I swore that I won't love any other boy band when H.O.T. had to disband with my tears. I felt my school life was over when the author finished Harry Potter series, and now DITTO faces their last time. My late 20s is finishing with them. The time that things what I loved is facing their end, I am feeling my life's one page is ending too. I still remember the age I had journeyed for watching DITTO's performances. Even if I spent big money and few days for performances, I followed them, and I was happy at all the time. This picture was captured on 2011. Through the program Meet the Artist Johnny Lee, I bought a huge bunch of flowers for him. I have never received any flowers like that. I didn't know Seoul's roads, but I held it in the middle of typhoon at that time. I'm not sure that this bouquet was delivered to him safely. Anyway, DITTO goes to their last time. My young passion and infinite love for DITTO goes to the end with them. I'm already missing DITTO in my 20s. This story really touches us. How do you feel?
Thank you goes again to our audience. And I think because the nature of chamber music is it's one person on a part, and often very, it's an intimate art form. Our audience has gotten to know each one of our members of the ensemble throughout the years very well, and we've had fans for everyone in the ensemble. And Johnny Lee is a very special person. He's a special guy. He's a wonderful friend, and I think those flowers were delivered. So
You're not jealous.
oh, I quite the contrary. I didn't have any siblings growing up, and I guess if you grow up with siblings, you get used to sharing and all that stuff. Where you have to share toys and you fight over things, but I didn't grow up with anybody, really. So it's I don't mind, everyone. There's someone for everyone, and yeah.
So we received many questions for this interview from fans through CREDIA's Instagram and Facebook. There was a lot of attentions of DITTO's fans. We selected 4 questions, and I'm asking you about those questions instead of fans. So number 1, I think it is too difficult that you made and played music on a project DITTO in the last 12 years. How didn't you stop this project, and how could you still play in DITTO? What is your driving force? This is actually not one question, more than 3 at a time, but we can maybe start from this question. How didn't you stop this project?
Well, there is a guitarist, this wonderful friend of mine, Murashi Kaori, this Japanese guitarist, and she appeared in one of our festivals a few years ago. I think it was during the Beethoven year, and the 10th year, and I was talking to her about things, and she said something very true. It's like it's always easier to quit than to keep on going. And I might disagree with her sometimes. Sometimes I think it's actually harder to quit than keep on going for someone like me. You know, it's like I have sort of the never quit mentality. Or when you run marathons, you know, it's like this sort of thing where you often your body is screaming at you to stop running, and then you persist and you succeed. But I always would say, never stop until you have to. So also, I think there's something about not quitting when it's not about you. If it was just about me, that would have been okay. But it's about the ensemble. It's about everybody that supports ensemble, both on the management side and also on the audience. I mean, do you want to just stop it and take it away from the people because you don't feel like doing it? So it's like, it's one of those questions. You balance it. And I think the main thermostat for that has been, does the audience want it? And I've always said that in my opening remarks for every festival. It's for you. This music's for you. And I'll keep on programming as long as you keep on wanting it.
So what is your driving force?
The music itself, and then how the audience feels, how they react. If they want more of it, then I give them more, and if they don't want more of it, then I stop.
You love Ditto, and how will you cherish memories with Ditto? If you have any plans, I want to know that. Something like writing a book. Do you have any plans related to this?
Well, luckily for everyone involved, the audience and for all the musicians, we've recorded basically everything. So there's a memory right there. It's just a matter of if you want to listen to that memory. And that to me is more important than anything. Whether I write about I could write a book of all the shenanigans that people have tried over the years, but I think, it's better to maybe keep that private and enjoy the music, because it's really. We released the 10th anniversary box of all the, and I had to review a lot of it, and what struck me is like, wow, people got a lot of music. They really got a lot of exposure. That's respectable. So people that have been coming this time, they've heard virtually a complete survey of not only chamber music, but of also a lot of new music. So that's good. I think that's the memory I want people to have, and I want people to make more memories by keeping on going to concerts. I mean, Korea. All my musical friends talk about Korea. It's famous the world around among classical musicians because of this passionate and enthusiastic audience, and I think that we need to keep that going. We need to. I think the future of music could be here, and I think we just need to keep on supporting our artists.
Well, if you can go to the day of Ditto's the very first performance, and saying something to yourself, what do you want to say?
Oh, I would say anything. I wouldn't. I would just keep quiet. I would not say anything.
Well, does that mean you were not quiet at the very first day of Ditto's performance?
There's this whole concept of time travel, like what could you do to affect the past? But, I don't, that's not really in my...
But you remember the
Of
very
course
first
I do.
performance,
But,
right?
I mean, if I would have said something to myself, that would have changed the course of history. And I don't need to change anything. It just has happened the way it is. That's the magic of this one universe. There's all these infinite amount of possibilities, and yet one situation happens. And I don't And because of all of the things that went into Ditto, I am the person I am today. And I don't want to change that.
How is it being remembered then?
You'll have to ask everybody. I don't know. I mean, I'll remember it with like anything. It's like it's a real life experience. So there's positives and negatives, and in the world of performing arts, there are many sublime moments, and then there are also some painful moments. But you just take it all as it's been a very full experience.
If I may, I wonder what kind of painful moments you feel as a painful moments as a performer.
Well, I think number one, if you mess up, if you make a big boo-boo, you shank something, as we call it. We spend so much time working, a disproportionate amount of time working to be reliable when we get under pressure. And as you know, a lot of times in the heat of battle, a lot of things happen that you don't plan for. And sometimes good things happen and sometimes bad things happen. So I think a painful thing for me, which I still need to improve upon, is sometimes because of where I came from and how hard I had to sort of work to get myself to where I am, because I sort of came from, my training was not particularly rigorous when I was a young boy, so I had to work extra hard as a middle school, high school student and college student. So, a lot of times I haven't lost that work ethic from that time, like where just like a lot of kids these days, they're just so focused on their tests and excelling, and I still have that. I still have my anxiety dreams at night where I've missed a class at college and I'm going to fail, and I still have that part of me where I feel like I really need to put in a lot of work. So when I make a mistake, it's sort of like it proves that I'm a failure, and of course that's false, but that's something we all work on, is to dispel, move on, and try to be better. But it's hard not to punish yourself as a musician when you make a mistake. And other pain, I think you learn a lot about yourself when you're a leader. You are forced into situations which are not necessarily comfortable. And one thing I think I've learned is to cherish people that are that celebrate you, that hold you up, that treasure you for who you are, and people that don't treat you like that, to not necessarily let them control you by feelings like negative feelings, but realize a lot of times that people are out for themselves. They're not out to get you. That a lot of times people are very selfish and they will be willing to do whatever they want to succeed. And I think that's the basic thing with humans. We're very selfish animals. We've evolved, but at the core of it, people are very selfish. And what I've strived to do in my entire life is to evolve past that, to not think about myself so much, but think about others, and to try to become a better human being. And there's been painful moments where I've been brought back to reality, where people have not treated me particularly nice. And the most painful moments is when they don't treat the music the way I believe it needs to be treated. When they either disrespect the music by not practicing, or they're not serious, or they think it's a joke. And that's been painful to me. But also I've learned the lesson, thanks to a very long talk with Kyunghwa Chung, that you can't expect other people to be like yourself. Just because you hold music in high regard and you think of music as the supreme thing, and that you need to practice, and you need to really hold yourself to that, not everybody thinks that way. And you can't not like people because they don't have the same values as you. But you can choose to play with them. So I think it's one thing that I think in my musical life that I've learned to treasure my colleagues that I really believe in. That for example, this year alone for my 15th anniversary, I've brought back, the Ennis Quartet, they're my family, and I love them. I would die for any one of them, and I love not only them, but I love their children, and they're beautiful human beings, and they get me. They know me. They really truly know me, and they love me for who I am. And that doesn't always happen in the arts. A lot of people say they like you, and then behind your back they'll stab you. They really will, and that's also a reality. And it's
very painful.
It's not painful. It's just humanity. It's really, I think I've had to really try to step above it all, and realize people are motivated by basic principle, and you can let it really affect you and make you really crazy, or just realize that they're selfish, and that's their destiny. But the other person I'm bringing back to Korea that I really believe in is Jeremy Dank, and he's also a very, very great friend, one of my favorite musicians to work with, and he's also not only a book smart and a genius of all music, all things related to music and humanity, but he's just a good person, and he and it's fun to be around him. Part of the reason I answered the question about what I would say to myself 12 years ago, I've evolved from that point. I've really evolved, I think, and part of that is due to these people that I really care about.
How do you spare the time for each and every one of them, your loved ones?
I think it's, most of my dearest friends are musicians, and that's a sad part of my life because I don't get to see other people. I'm a maniacal person. I want to excel, and I want to get better, and I want to play more music, and I want more of this, and that requires me to just throw myself into these crazy projects and just travel all the time and work. So a lot of times the people I've gotten to know, the true outliers, have been musicians because that's who I've been around. But luckily, the musicians I've really opened up to, I think, and that really know me, I think are they've been my closest colleagues, and I get to make music with them. I mean, what a gift! You actually get to work with people. I mean, work colleagues can be a tricky thing. If you don't like your work colleagues, that can be very tricky. But luckily, not all, but many of my work colleagues are my dear friends.
Which is a blessing.
Oh,
Great
it
blessing.
Is totally.
Mm-hmm. So we have one last question left from your fan. This is from a fan nicknamed Silbaram. I love the song Be Rosette, performed by DITTO. If you want to play any crossover song for both national and international fans, what's that song? How do you think about BTS song?
I've been the Debbie Downer when it comes to crossover. The only platform for anything slightly less than Beethoven is for the encores, as a gift, a service to the fans, and B Rosette probably was our big hit encore of all time, and I enjoy music for television and film, often because it's a trigger. When people hear the music, they think of the content of what they saw. And I just recently did something for Mr. Sunshine, and many people were very moved by that show. And it's an honor, and it's a different thing, music that has other purposes, So non-absolute music is fine for encores, and maybe it would be Mr. Sunshine, something, because I think a lot of people have really enjoyed that show. BTS, how can you not know them? I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, they were on Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago, and they're really doing phenomenally well. And to me, what is incredible is they don't even sing. They appear on national TV in America, and they're not singing in English, which is really, really, really difficult. Most entertainment-based things need to be in English for people to listen. It's just, but for some reason, I guess the Macarena was the sort of the last thing that, or Gangnam Style. I mean, there's these. I think the world is becoming a smaller place, and that to me is a very good thing. That we could have a completely Korean boy band singing in basically all Korean except for a few English words on primetime television on one of the most popular shows in America. That says something, and that's good for all of us. I think it's that we're, even in these times where there's incredible division and fear-mongering of the others and all these global movements clamping down on trying to demonize huge sections of people for who they are, which is totally against my belief system. We have globalization on this level, and I think that maybe as artists, that's our job. We need to reach out and we need to build bridges. We need to bring people together, and music is such a powerful way and such a benign way of doing that.
So you're very open to play any crossover songs?
No, not open to do anything. It's if it was the right situation, it was music that I liked. Often, very early on, I watched a lot of TV to sort of acclimate myself to life here in Korea, because it's there's nothing like listening to how people talk in conversational ways, and Taejanggun was I loved that show, and I loved a lot of shows, and then Hayan Gotop with Kim Myung-min, that was an excellent show, and he's an excellent actor, and therefore playing that music was okay. But I don't want to just pull out some song that I don't know what the content is.
Now we're talking about your future's plans. Do you have any other plans after the end of DITTO? Any specific plans? Or just dreams?
I think, for a large part of my life, I had these major goals, like how can I take care of my mother if she needs to move in with me? And how will I have a nice concert instrument to make my life, or will someday I own my own home, and a lot of my dreams since I was a boy have come true through hard work and perseverance, and a lot of the things have happened. And I guess the last question to me is is there a what next? Because in some ways, every time I play a concert and it goes well, that is, I'm fulfilling my dream. The sort of Sisyphean struggle of a musician that you push the boulder up the slope, but it keeps on rolling back down, and the boulder being entropy, chaos, not playing well, not being in control of your instrument, and every day trying to get that boulder up to the top of the hill, maybe a little bit farther than I had before it starts rolling down again. So I really hope that I can keep on playing as much music as I can. I've spent a lot of time here in Korea over the last 15 years, and less time in Europe, so I would love to play more concerts in Europe. I've been going to Europe a little bit more this year, and I've really, really enjoyed it. I was in Munich for recording at the Bayerischen Rundfunk in March, and I was in Zurich in February for recording with the Zurich Kammer Orchestra, and I was in in England before that, and I love Europe. It's a very real, direct, and musically fulfilling experience when I go.
So we spent shiny days with your music, and we were happy with Ditto. I want to ask you, and we want to ask you, how are you now? Are you happy? Did Ditto make you happy, more specifically? And I don't know if this may help you to think of the answers to this question, does Ditto make you happy? But if you pick one specific happiest performance, what would that be?
Yes, I'm very happy. And Ditto was a huge part of me being happy. Ditto, not the concept of Ditto, but the people. The people have made it all worth it. And one happy moment besides the Gyeonghwachang event, all of our times with senior artists like Idan, Kramer, and Misha Maisky have been happy for me because they have brought their unique gifts and lifetime experience to this project, and that has been really deep. Has made me really, really, really happy. I think I'll be really happy in 2 months when I see everybody at the final concert, and it will be a wonderful celebration of everything that we've done.
Happy, sad, or sad, happy? Mixed feelings.
Oh, I think I'll be happy. You know,
Just happy.
Yeah, happy. You know,
Good
sad.
to hear that. Happy to
sad.
hear that.
You know, I was saying to one of my friends earlier, it's like suffering. There's been a lot of suffering, and I'm not trying to be a downer, but there's been a lot of suffering in my life, and I don't want to have more suffering. I'm done with suffering. You know, and you kind of make your own destiny sometimes. You know, you really can. Oh, my life is so terrible, and it's like, no, I don't want to. My life is wonderful. My mom has wonderful health. I have my health. I make music for a living. I have beautiful friends, and I travel the world making music. So why should I not be happy? You know, and all these people that have been coming to Ditto, they hopefully they will enjoy their life. And Korea has never had more concerts. There's many, many things to see. Maybe they won't have me curating a series, but they have many options, and many of the world's greatest audiences come to our wonderful halls. All you need to do is look on the internet and see what's coming, you know? So that's there are gifts everywhere, you know?
How are you going to celebrate?
Oh, probably by getting on a plane and going right to work somewhere else.
Oh, are you serious?
Yes, exactly, yes. It's always how I celebrate.
Even on the day of your last
well,
performance,
I might
Ditto.
take a bath. I take a bath every. That's my celebration. At the end of any day, I can just go back to my hotel room and have I take a bath, and that's my reward. I get to relax, and I could just fall asleep knowing that I did my best, and I'm clean.
Now it's time to close our special interview show, Timeless Ditto, even though we don't really want to. So I prepared one last question. As a non-native speaker of English, I don't think that I have the whole and complete understanding of the word ditto. However, I think I have an understanding of which context we use the word ditto. I'm pretty sure that before this project Ditto, of course you had some time to use the word ditto, and now after or as a music director of this project Ditto, you also have a time to use that ditto. And can you tell us the difference now, how the word ditto feels differently to you?
Oh, for sure. Did you ever watch that movie with Patrick Swayze, called Ghost. You know, when he basically he dies,
course.
but then he's able to come back, and they use that word very. It's like sort of it's like a very casual word, and then it's been sort of it's a colloquial word, so people just throw it around. When I first started Ditto, I remember there was this very famous cellist, I think, that's like, how could anybody take you serious for having a name like that? I was like, wow, you're really judge much. So, Ditto now is I don't even think of Ditto like Patrick Swayze and Ghost anymore. I think of Ditto as like, it's its own thing. And I think everyone, you know, of all the things that I've done here in Korea, many of them very meaningful, a lot of people know Ditto. They know Ditto. You know, it came out to the public. It really did accomplish the mission of really breaking down a significant barrier between something being only for a subsection of the population and something for all the population. And I'm happy for that. That Ditto or DITTO is, I think people will remember it.
Ditto. For some reason, I want to say ditto here. Just
Ditto. Yeah, it's so funny in English. It's ditto. You know, ditto. But like you say, ensemble ditto. It's like sounds like some California surfer dude. You know, ditto. But DITTO, I think so.
But you attached a special meaning to that word, at least for Korean fans, national fans, and international fans as well. I'm pretty sure that your fans will feel very special about Ditto, that word, because of you and the project Ditto. So, in conclusion, you and Ditto gave us beautiful moments through your music. We're very thankful and grateful for that. Nevertheless, we'll face sad and painful moments because we're still living, and that's the life. I'm feeling that we'll find your music when we are in sadness, and I believe that your music will be the source of power whenever we need our strength and we have to renew the energy or the motivation to start again or resume our lives. So thank you for being there, and thank you for continue to be there for us and for you yourself and for the ones that you love and for the ones that love you. So Ditto is not really closing, I think. It's still there, even though you're not really playing your music as a Ditto artist, right?
I once said in a speech before Stefan Jakiv was leaving Ditto, and he's coming back, that there are no goodbyes, which sounds really cheesy, but it's actually kind of true. You know, I'm really not one of those people that like, oh, you're dead to me. You know, it's like, no, I mean, it's like, you know, we evolve constantly, and I'm very hopeful for the future. I'm very hopeful for all of the young artists that have given so much to this project, that people will still be supportive of them, come to their concerts, and seek music as they need.
And we call it 인연 in Korean. You mentioned 공감. There's no better word that can describe the word 공감, but however, we do have this 인연, which cannot really be translated into karma or relationship. But this 인연, what Ditto gave us, between you and the audiences, and between you and me, between you and your other team members, I'm pretty sure that this 인연 will last. And as you gave us a lot of strength and power through your music, now we hope that we can be of power and strength at the points of your life when you need your strength, when you need your motivation, when you need love, or you need to feel loved by people, then we hope that we can be there as your fan, as your friend, as your colleagues. And thank you for this inyan through Ditto. Thank you so much, Youngjae.
Well, thank you.